I will never, ever order chicks through the mail again. And it didn't have to be this way. And it went so wrong. Good morning, friends. How are y'all today? Today, I want to take you on a journey with me to show you why I will never order chicks again. And I mean never. Now, this was our first time ever ordering chicks, and we ordered them from a pretty good hatchery, McMurray. But it went bad enough that I won't do it again. Is it cheaper to order through the hatcheries? Yes. You can get a whole lot of chicks at a very cheap price compared to what you can get at your local feed store. And you get more options ordering through the hatchery, which is why I went that route to begin with. Our feed store, our local feed store, had like 6 options of chicks, and McMurray has tons of options of chicks. Plus at our feed store, they were about $4 a chick, where I paid $2 to $3 a chick at McMurray. So when you're talking about buying 60 chicks and you're saving $1 a chick, even more sometimes, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. However, even though I went through one of the bigger hatcheries who is known for having a fantastic reputation, our experience didn't go very good. But to understand really how bad it went, I need to show you the good parts also. And that's not gonna make any sense right now. But if you go watch the first video I put up where we are off-grid brooding chicks, I will link it down below, you will see what I'm talking about. But as a short recap, we went to the post office to pick up our chicks and found out that only half of our chicks were delivered. We have a problem. Only half of our chicks are here. I don't know, there should be 2 boxes. She don't know. She said she thinks the other one probably is getting sent to the correct PO or correct post office, but they won't be there till tomorrow. So we only got half our chicks. Where's the other half? The post office told me that hopefully they would be there the next day, but the next day didn't happen either. So our chicks shipped for McMurray on Wednesday. On Thursday, we got half of our batch of chicks. On Friday, I called the post office and no one knew where our chicks were. They tried to look up my tracking number and they said that the tracking information on it had not been updated in 2 days. And they didn't know where the box was. And the lady at the post office told me, maybe they'll be here by Monday. No, that box has 30-something chicks in it, and if they wait till Monday, they will be dead. I will be picking up a box of dead chicks. He's like, well, the only other thing we can hope for is that they will arrive Saturday morning, but the post office is only open for a couple of hours on Saturday morning, and it's 8 to 10. That's it, a 2-hour window. To say I was stressed was the understatement, because I'd already had my first batch of chicks here for over 24 hours, and they're telling me they don't know where the second batch is, and they were shipped together at the same time. They are box 1 of 2 and box 2 of 2. They were shipped together. Somewhere a USPS man split them up, or woman. Not blaming it just on the men. A woman could have done it too. Somebody split these chicks up. I don't know the reasoning. I don't know. Maybe they had one mail truck coming south and they only had room to stick 1 box of chicks on it, and they thought one was better than none, so they went ahead and stuck the one on it. But then what happened to the second box? Did it just get forgotten? I don't know. I really don't know. So our first box of chicks had 34 chicks in it. And out of those 34, we only had 1 chick that didn't do good. Come on, we're gonna get you taken care of. Oh, this is not good, guys. Not good. See what we can do for it. Kenneth, did you ever think you would wake up one morning to hold a chick in front of a propane heater to keep it warm?
Literally not looking good.
No, he don't look good at all. I'm thinking he may just gotten too stressed with the shipment and then being out in the cold. I don't know. The other ones look great.
Oh my. Daddy.
That one's sick, buddy. Okay friends, so I actually have some pretty good news. Check out this baby. Look at that baby. It's eating, it's drinking, it's pooping, it's up walking around. So much better. Now we nursed that sweet chick back to health, but unfortunately the next day I found it passed away. And what I'm assuming happened, because I was not in the brooder at night when it happened, is that because of our off-grid system, our chicks huddle for warmth. We give them mother hen houses and warm jugs of water to act as radiant heat for them to huddle around. And our goal is to teach them that they need to rely on each other for body heat. This is what they'll do when they're out in the chicken tractors. This is what they'll do if you put them in a chicken coop. This is how chicks keep themselves warm. And so we're just teaching them from an early age not to be under a heat lamp, to huddle for warmth. The downside of that is, if you have a weaker chick who tries to huddle, they tend to get pushed to the bottom of the huddle pile and stood on. And I have seen that happen. I have opened the lid and seen chicks being stood on by other chicks. They'll be alive, but they're being stood on because they're weaker and they can't push back. And with chickens, it literally is basically survival of the fittest. If another chick is weaker, the other chicks will pick on it. They will push it, they will peck it, and they will stand on it. And so that chick did not make it. And that was my first chick loss. But I went into this expecting some, because with the off-grid setup where you're doing a non-traditional heating method, you're doing a non-traditional setup, our brooder gets cold. People tell you brooders can't get lower than 95 or 90 degrees or whatever within the first 2 weeks of life. And our brooder has seen low 50s overnight. I mean, and that's not like low 50s for hours. It's not just like a one-time thing. So our brooder gets cold, especially compared to other brooders. And the chicks have done fine through that. If I can give them something to huddle in and give them something to huddle around, they do good. But the weakest ones get pushed to the bottom of the pile. And that's not good. But we went into this understanding that that would be a possibility. You're gonna have some losses. It's a fact of life. Especially when you're trying something non-traditional and you're doing something new and out of the norm, you're going to have even more losses, and we were aware of that. I expected up to 25% losses or so throughout this brooder period. And I knew that, so I bought more chicks than I thought I wanted to start out with for that reason. So it was okay. It sucked finding that little chick that we had nursed back to health dead. But I understood that that could happen. Well, later on that day, I went to the feed store and they had different chicks than what I had in my brooder. So I got 4 bantams and 4 Easter eggers, Americanas, whatever they are. And then I kept them inside in a little hospital tank overnight just to check on them, keep an eye on them, and make sure everybody looked strong and healthy before I put them out in our off-grid brooder the next day. And they did great. I got 34 chickens from Murray McMurray in our first box. And I got 8 from my feed store, giving us a total of 42 chickens in the brooder, except for the one that passed away. So 41 is what I had. I had 1 loss in 42 chicks. So Saturday morning comes around and I'm wide awake. I've already done my chicken chores, taking care of them. And then I'm playing outside with Declan and my phone rings. And it's the post office. My chicks are there. And so the first thing I asked him is, are they making noise? And he's like, well, yeah. I was like, those chicks are over 24 hours late. They may not all be alive. Are they making noise? I'm not coming to pick up a box of dead chicks. And he said, yes, they are making a lot of noise. And so I said, okay. So Kenneth drove us a couple miles to the post office. And I get there and knock on the door and he brings out my box of chicks. And I can hear they are making noise. But it's not quite as loud as it was when I picked up my first box of chicks. So I already had a feeling it wasn't going to go good. But I was not prepared for how bad it was going to go. So we get this box of chicks home, and one chick was dead, and 2 chicks were very close to being dead. Like, had to stare at them to see that they were breathing. And then the rest of them were not looking good. They were chirping, they were moving, but over half of them were completely, like, unbalanced, falling all over each other. They were getting stood on by the other ones because they couldn't keep their balance and they couldn't stay standing. I went and got a box. And it was actually my canner box. I was planning to do a complete unboxing video on the canner I purchased, my pressure canner. But the chickens needed the box more than y'all needed an unboxing video. I went ahead and took everything out, and I laid party napkins that we had left over from Declan's 3rd birthday. They were clean in the bottom of it. And I went and got my hospital tank I used for my 8 chickens from the feed store. And I laid party napkins at the bottom of it so it was clean. And I went through and hand separated all my chicks. So those who were barely moving and weren't even standing up went in the hospital tank. And all the rest went in the big box. But once I got them in the big box and they had room to walk around, I could see it wasn't good. It really was not good. I had a little hope in the mail carrier box because they were all, well, most of them were standing, but they were leaning on each other. And so when I get them in the big box, they don't have each other to lean on. It wasn't good. They all looked like they were drunk. They were falling over, they were tipping, they had their wings all spread out, like they were just all over the place. I got them some clean water and stuff in the box, and they were falling into it. Like, they would lean over to try to drink and fall face first into this water. It was awful. So we started out with the 1 dead chick and the 2 that were clinging for life. Both of those did end up passing away. So I had 3 total. And then I had another one pass away that same night. I mean, it was like one right after the other. But I was like, okay, I got 4 losses. Maybe the rest will be okay. And y'all, I tried everything. People were suggesting stuff to me on social media because I had posted about these chicks. I was YouTubing videos. I was reading blogs. Anytime I found more than one source saying the same information, I gave it a try. And so we tried electrolyte water. I tried adding molasses to the electrolyte water, adding apple cider vinegar. We always add apple cider vinegar to our animals' waters anyways. I fed them egg yolk. I went down the line. I combined these things, and I was syringe feeding these chicks. It's kind of hard to explain how I was doing it, but basically I would just put the syringe up to the side of the beak and just squirt like an itty bittiest drop on the side of the beak, and then they had the option of drinking it or it rolled down their chin and I would wipe it off. And I did that for over 2 hours. Me and Kenneth sat on the floor with these chicks trying to give them a fighting chance. I mean, we were right in front of the propane heaters. They had heat. We were sweating, but they had heat. We did everything we could. And that first day, we ended up losing 4 chicks. But the rest of them were not looking good. I went to bed with 10 chicks in my hospital tank. I think it was about 20. In my cardboard box that I was calling my healthy-ish tank. I woke up the next morning and y'all, I just cried. Because we worked so hard to save those chicks. And I mean, even after the 2 hours of us sitting there and doing like every 15 minutes syringe feedings, I went through and about every hour I was syringe feeding electrolyte water to the ones in the hospital tank, and I was making sure that the ones in the healthiest tank had fresh bedding and had clean water and access to food every hour until about midnight that night. And then by 6 a.m. the next morning, the numbers of chicks that I had lost, it was heartbreaking. And I had 13 dead chicks by the next morning. That's not including the 4 from the day before. 13 dead overnight. And y'all, and to say I was devastated is an understatement. I still can't think of it without crying, because when you work so hard to save something and you fail at it and you fail hard, like I didn't lose just 1 or 2 more. 13 more didn't even make it overnight. And so we weren't even 24 hours of having these chicks on our property, and we'd already lost 17. And to make matters worse, there were several more that were not doing good. They weren't standing, they were barely breathing, and I tried again with just syringe feeding electrolyte water, just to see if maybe they weren't strong enough to walk to the water bowls overnight in the few hours that I was sleeping. I ended up losing 25 chicks from that one box that come late in the mail, within 24 hours of it arriving to us. 25 chicks. I don't even know how many chicks the box held, because I didn't count them to start off with. I was supposed to have a total of 65 chicks from Murray McMurray, plus a free one, so that was 66. And they normally send an extra 2 chicks or something like that, so let's say 68 chicks. And that'll give us a good number. I had 34 in the first box, so maybe 34 in the second box as well. 25 of them died within 24 hours of them being here. But that wasn't 24 hours of them being born. They arrived to us late. It wasn't Murray McMurray's fault, because both boxes were shipped at the same time. One arrived Thursday afternoon, and the next box didn't arrive till Saturday morning. It was devastating. We tried so hard, and it was chick after chick after chick to try to save something and have horrible losses like that. 25 dead chicks out of that 34 within the first 24 hours. The rest of the chicks have done fairly well. I can still kind of pick them out of our brooder because they're slower and they're weaker. It is now Monday morning, and I added the chicks that had survived that first 24 hours into the brooder yesterday morning, so Sunday morning. This morning, I have one chick not doing so hot. Pretty sure it's from that second box, and then it just wasn't strong enough to hold up to the bigger, stronger chicks overnight in the huddle sessions. I don't count that in our loss from USPS because of our unconventional brooder setup. Once they go in our off-grid brooder, the loss that happens there is on us. So that's the way I've always planned on it being. So don't think that our off-grid brooder is the cause of 25 chicks' death, because that didn't happen. We had one chick die in it, and one chick that is doing not so hot right now, and I've got it pulled out into the hospital tank. These other 25 chicks died inside in the heat. We were pouring sweat in there because we kept it much warmer than we normally would, just for these chicks. Just for these chicks. So these chicks were kept very warm. They were kept dry. They were given fresh water. They were syringe fed fresh water. They had food. They had clean bedding that I was changing like every hour to make sure that they had the best fighting chance they could. It wasn't our off-grid setup. It wasn't our off-grid brooder. It wasn't Murray McMurray. It was USPS, and I truly blame them. I reached out to several people from USPS about these chicks. One lady told me she hopes I have insurance on the box. That's not the point. Those are live chicks in there. One lady told me that the way these chicks are shipped, there's only a guarantee that they'll make it within 4 days, not 1 to 2 like it's supposed to be. But one box did make it in time, so you can't use that as an excuse. This wasn't a shipping delay. This was one box made it here within the time frame it was supposed to be in. And I had one chick die from that entire box. One chick. And that was because it got huddled a little too hard and stepped on. Out of the box that did not make it within that time frame, I lost 25 chicks. This tragic loss is straight on USPS. And don't blame Murray McMurray. But the sad part is, USPS is not the one that's going to have to pay for it. We paid emotionally. Like, the toll this has taken on me for days. It's not been good. My emotional and mental health has not been good. And Murray McMurray has a guarantee that my chicks will arrive within 48 hours and live and be healthy, and that didn't happen. So now, because of their guarantee, they will replace my chicks. I think I've got to give them a call today. But that means they're losing money on these chicks. And you notice the only ones that didn't lose is USPS. And before anybody says, why are they shipped USPS, it's because it's a federal law that chicks have to be shipped USPS. You cannot FedEx chicks, you cannot UPS chicks. This is a federal government thing. Murray McMurray has no other choice. They have to ship them that way. But USPS doesn't care about our chicks. And so while I had the good experience from the first box, that devastating experience from that second box, I will never, ever order chicks through the mail again. Y'all, these chicks are being raised for meat. And we have rabbits that we raise for meat. It's not the death of the animal. It's the senseless death of an animal that didn't even get the chance to live. I have the goal in my heart to give each of our animals, no matter what they're being raised for, the best, happiest life I can. And that they only have one bad day. And that's the day of their death. But these chicks come out of the shell and went into a box. And they sat in that box for days, starving with no food, no water, probably no warmth. I don't know what they went through. Being jostled around on trucks and planes and left in post offices. And that's not how we raise animals. That's not how we do things on our homestead. Yes, we eat animals. Yes, we raise animals for meat. But that does not mean we want them to suffer or have a bad life. And that's what devastates me, is these chicks suffered. These babies suffered. And it didn't have to be this way. So I won't participate in it anymore. I will buy chicks from our feed store. I will buy chicks from Tractor Supply. I will buy chicks from people who hatch them out locally until I can get us to the right number we wanted. Our goal has always been to buy chicks this first time and set up our brooder for this first time. And then after that, we're done. We want to be able to just raise our chicks with mother hens, and that's it. We don't want to continuously have a brooder set up. I had so much riding on these chicks. So much. They were going to be our only time we were bought chicks. We were going to raise them up. And then they were going to be our chicken breeders, our chicken layers. I mean, they were going to have our meat chickens, everything. Like, they're dual purpose chickens. And it went so wrong. So, tell me. Have you had a bad experience with getting chicks in the mail? Do you mail order chicks?
No.
And if you don't, where do you get your chicks that are safe from this emotional burden that we got in our package from USPS? So there you go, guys. That's the journey I've taken over the past few days. It feels like an enormous amount of time has passed since we got that first box of chicks. And in reality, it's only been 5 days. But they have been some of the longest days. It has been awful. And I am done with it. So we are moving forward from here. I need to count tonight and see how many chicks are in our brooder and let y'all know. And then I'll be doing another video documentation of our chick brooder and how it's going and what I found out is the best way to brood chicks off grid. And we've got some really cold nights coming up. I'm talking like freezing nights. And our chicks will be outside. And so I'll be documenting how that goes. So if you want to continue on this journey with us of brooding chicks off grid, make sure you're subscribed and stay in tune for our future videos. And if you want to find out how this goes with Murray McMurray and what they say when I call them today, I will let you know that in the next chicken video. But for now, I'm going to go wash the tears off my face, get cleaned up, and spend some time getting my garden prepared. Because some of the best therapy for a horrible emotional state, mental state, is hard work. Working all those frustrations out. That's what I'm going to do. I'll see y'all next time, friends. Bye now.